is the Central Florida Computer Society and the main meeting. And today's topic is going to be a modern, new style version of backup software. And it's open source. And I'm going to show you how to do local backups and cloud backups and how to restore and why it's a good way to do it and a good reason to do it. So basically, Copia.io is their homepage. And it's a very nice website. They have the features section and the getting started section have a lot of documentation about what you can run into and what you should do. The getting started page covers how to, everything you need to do to get started, download, installing it, how to set it up, creating a repository. I'm going to go through a set of slides. What I just want a quick answer from somebody is it better viewed in black this way or in white this way?
I think in white.
Okay. All right, so this is Joplin then. Modern backups with Copia, fast, secure, flexible backups. Why do backups even matter? One thing that people should be aware of is ransomware. Ransomware is when something infects your computer and encrypts all of your data, and then they want money to unencrypt your data. And if all you do is have Windows with your files on it, and perhaps even the cloud drive where you synchronize your files, your computer has access to that cloud drive. Like in Microsoft OneDrive, for example, your ransomware can encrypt the files that are on your computer and in the OneDrive cloud. And if you don't have a true backup and not just a sync, you're going to be stuck without your software, without your files. And secondarily, accidental deletion. If you delete a file accidentally on your computer, Windows is going to take it off the cloud drive and vice versa. And a hardware failure can take away your data too. I visited with a customer for the first time, or a second time actually, a few weeks ago, and he was having trouble getting Outlook to open. And what I discovered is that his Outlook profile was in OneDrive, and it was not set to be on his computer all the time. It was running out of the cloud. And so when he opened Outlook, it started to download files from the cloud, and then it got stuck, and it was just a mess. As soon as I changed it to keep all of the files on the computer, Outlook's been working fine ever since. But he's getting a backup system from me tomorrow, with an external backup and a cloud backup, and Copia will be a part of that. What is Copia? It is a snapshot-based backup, and it is not to be confused with snapshots that you would get in a virtual machine or snapshots that you would get with imaging disk software. What the snapshot does is Copia looks at all your data, and it basically takes a picture of what all your files look like, and it will grab everything and put it into an encrypted database. And you can do snapshots frequently, and it will only back up to the cloud whatever has changed. So even if you set the snapshots to go off every 15 minutes or 10 minutes, if you didn't do anything, it's not going to do anything. It's not like free file sync where it's going to analyze your whole computer and take up time to do the work. Deduplication. What does deduplication mean? Deduplication means that it's going to guarantee that your backup is not going to be enlarged because you have duplicates of big video files and pictures and things. As it goes through all of your data, if you have a And I've run into this before. If I'll download an ISO file for installing an operating system, it's 3 or 4 gigabytes, and I may download it to one place, and then another time download it to another place, and then you got two of them. This will prevent that from happening, deduplication. And cross-platform essentially basically means that it works identically on Windows as it does on Linux and as it does on the Mac. And Copilot or ChatGPT told me to explain Copia simply, like Git for files. Any of you who are developers and you know what Git is not simple. I don't know why they put these two together. Git is a coding repository that works a lot like Copia, but it's hard to explain. I don't even know what it is. How does Copia work? It scans your files, and then it grabs chunks and it deduplicates everything, and it makes sure that it can grab bits and pieces of a file from different places. The next thing it does with that data locally on your computer before it goes anywhere is it encrypts that data with a code a password basically that you gave it. And another reason to have a password manager, because the backup software requires that you encrypt the data with a password. And if you ever forget the password, you're never going to recover your data. If you have a system crash and you need to reinstall your backup software, you got to have the password. Otherwise, your backup data is gone. So basically, you have to be careful with that. You can do local SSD backups. They recommend that to have a local SSD backup because it gives you fast restores. It gives you offline access and full control of your data. Tomorrow, my customer is going to, he bought from Amazon an external SSD, and I'm going to back up his files to the external SSD, and secondarily, it's going to go to the cloud with Copia. The next thing is cloud backups. Cloud backups give you offsite protection. Here in Florida, we get hurricanes, and I live in a zone 4 of a flood zone. If we have a hurricane, I've had my street flooded to the point where you can't walk down the street. You can go in a canoe. And you could end up being evacuated I could end up being evacuated from my house mandatorily and not be able to get back to my house for who knows how long. So having my backup in my house doesn't do me any good. Having it online is where I need it. And your data is encrypted, so your cloud provider, whoever it is, can't read any of your files. The best thing that you can do, which is what I do, is create a local backup which runs fast and a cloud backup for safety. It's going to run a little slower, but you can run it less frequently than you do the local backup. You can schedule the cloud backup to run like once a day, and the local to back up every half hour. This is the best practice setup that they suggest. For security, as we covered, it's end-to-end encryption, zero knowledge on the server side, so no one's ever going to get it. And it protects you from ransomware because the ransomware can't read your backup files. Even if your ransomware attacks your computer and your backup is locally accessible on your external E drive, that data is in a database that's encrypted, and it's not going to be touched by a ransomware software. If you have a backup in the cloud also, then that double redundancy. My cloud backup goes to a company called Backblaze, and I don't have a drive letter on Windows mapped to Backblaze. There's no way for my computer to get to Backblaze. only Copia can get to Backblaze. Um, so advanced features are that it compresses all of your data. You can set up all kinds of policies. You can have very flexible schedulization, and they have a command line interface to automate everything into scripts and do fancy things for those people who want to. If you prefer to work in a GUI only, then you can work in a GUI only. You don't have to do the command line. So the point of the whole thing here today is to impress that backups are essential, that synchronization only is not a backup. That Copia is very efficient at what it does, and it's very secure. And like again, they use the hybrid approach. Have two copies of your backup, one at home and one in the cloud. And that is the end of the slideshow. So now I can hit the exit button, and then I can get out of this guy. There we go. And get rid of Zoom, get rid of Joplin, get rid of this. Oh, they get rid of that. And we can get rid of this and get rid of that. All right. So when you install Joplin, Copia, it will be in your Windows Start menu. And when it launches, it will come up with, if it's the first time it's ever been installed, it'll come up with the GUI menu. I've already installed it and used it. So when I run it, it just launches into the system tray. So down here, I have a little icon called Copia, and I'm going to right click and say connect to another repository. And it's going to bring up, or at least it should bring up, the interface. In the graphical user interface, you're only allowed, and this is by design, to connect to a single repository. That means that you can choose between a local backup or an online backup, not both at the same time. Copia's graphical interface that runs in the background all the time, it can only talk to one repository at a time. The way to do duplicate backups, one locally and one to the cloud, is to actually take the advice from Copia and run a batch file, the simple batch file that runs and says do backup A and do backup B and schedule it in the Windows scheduler. They have here most of these options. Local disk is what everybody can use, or if you have a local network attached storage server. These other ones are all professional grade servers, except for SFTP may not be. But Backblaze, Azure Blob Storage, Google Cloud Storage, Amazon S3, they're all a new modern style of cloud backup service where you don't buy like you do with Google or Microsoft or pCloud or iDrive, regular one. iDrive has a regular and also a B2, an S3 compatible. You only pay for the storage that you actually use. So, for example, if you use a terabyte, and I imagine that power users probably have a terabyte. Most of you, with your documents and pictures and things, probably don't have more than a couple hundred megabytes of stuff. So Backblaze, for example, charges $6 a month if you have a terabyte. And Norbert, Bob.
Yeah, two things. Do you have a link where to get the one with the user interface? And since I have 5 terabytes on Google, why don't I do the backup to Google?
You can. This Google Cloud Storage is their professional cloud storage, not
Yeah.
their consumer cloud storage. What you would do to get to Google is use, and I didn't talk about this in the slideshow. I forgot to put it in there. Copia partnered with a company called Rclone, and Rclone makes a cloud connectivity software that supports Microsoft and Google and 50 others. So if you have the 5 terabytes at Google, what you would do is choose the Rclone remote, and you would go into Rclone and configure the Google backup, and then you would be able to just put that in here. If I click on storage configuration, it wants the Rclone's remote path. And that's basically going to be the name of when you go in, you create a remote and you give it a name called Google Backups. And that's what you would put in here with a colon at the end. And then that's it. And you tell it where Rclone is. And then you hit the next button and you're done. If you do local backups, again, it's just going to ask you, where do you want me to put the storage? And this is the repository. None of these buttons work unless you first create a repository. And we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to start with local directory storage, and I'm going to open a folder, and I'm going to choose, if I can, my F drive. Come on. And then I have a directory called CFCS Copia demo. And I'm going to select that folder. So this is where my repository is going to live. It's going to be on my F drive in this folder. And I say next. And this is where I have to create the password that is going to encrypt the storage. So I put in my password that I choose. And I hit create repository. And I'm done. I now have that repository set up. So it now is on the snapshots menu. So what I'm going to do is say that I want to create a new snapshot. And this is basically the location of where you're going to store, of what you're going to back up. So if I say new snapshot, oops, this guy keeps posting. It says enter the path that you want to snapshot. So I'm going to, this is where you would click on your documents folder or your OneDrive folder or your pictures folder, your videos folder. I'm going to run a test where I'm going to back up a folder called CFCS, which has files in it. So I'm going to choose CFCS and say select folder. And now it knows that it's going to make a backup of this. And this is just an example. So now I have a bunch of options down here: snapshot retention, files, compression, scheduling. There's all kinds of things that you can change. The snapshot retention, Daniel, or Jeff, I'm sorry.
How many different folders can you put in that top line? You just have the one that says CFCS. Can you back up?
You can have as many as you want.
Can I put
Okay.
the C drive in there?
Right.
Can you
So
just you can just put the whole C drive in there.
well, I don't know. I wouldn't include Windows and your profile directory and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I only pointed to your actual data.
Okay. Do you want to back up your program files also, or just the data?
This is primarily a data backup tool.
Okay.
You're expected to, if your computer crashes and you need to reinstall, that you have a copy of your software to install. This is really just for your data.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Now, by default, the latest number of most recent snapshots to retain per source is 10 as the default. How many hourly snapshots would you like to take from the source? It doesn't default, it defaults to 0. So number of hourly snapshots, I could say 1, and it will take hourly snapshots. Or I can do daily snapshots, or I can do weekly or monthly or annual. I got all these different settings. So I'm going to basically choose the 1, and then I'm going to close this down. And then under files, you can create ignore lists, ignore rules, and establish things that you're not going to back up that are inside a folder. So if you want to back up your profile, your home directory, but not your hidden directories or your app data directory, then you can exclude that from your backups if you choose to. You can, under scheduling, this is where you decide how frequently you want the app to run. So it defaults to nothing. It's not going to ever run unless you run it manually. So if you can define how you want it to work. It starts with this minimum of 10 minutes and goes to 12 hours. So I'm going to say every 10 minutes for this lesson here. And you can set up all kinds of other rules that I'm not going to get into now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say take a snapshot, or I can take an estimate. And the folder that I chose to back up has 11 megabytes of data in it, and it has 8 files in it. When you choose all of your stuff, you'll find out more about how much total backup you're doing. So if I say take a snapshot now, it's in the process of doing that first backup, and now it's done. So the last snapshot did a few seconds ago. The next snapshot's going to happen in 5 minutes. And the owner of the file is dking at MSI Gamer. That's the name of my computer. This is the path that I backed up. Now, to answer the question, what do I do about backing up another place? Well, that's very simple. You just say, I want to create a new snapshot, and you pick that second place. So if I want to back up, I'll back up my batch files. So I have a file called bat, and I'll back up the batch files, and I'll schedule it to run every 10 minutes, and I'll say snapshot it now. So you just basically go through here and add your pictures, documents, videos, whatever, different locations where you have data. And you can select the frequency of how often each of these are backed up. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. All you do is close the program, and you make sure that it's in the system tray and it says launch at startup. Okay, you want this to launch at startup. And then every time you boot your computer, it's going to automatically take snapshots every 10 minutes if there is anything to do. If there's nothing to do, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to go into my F drive, and I'm going to go to CFCS, and I have a bunch of pictures in here. And, for example, I've got a picture of my dog, and another picture of my dog, and another picture of my dog. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to just wipe these out and hit the delete key. Come on. And now they should be gone. Yep. Now they're gone. There's no files in there anymore. So now I'm going to go into my Joplin, my Copia. I don't know why I'm saying Joplin. Go to my repository, and here are my backups. And I need to restore from F:/CFCS. So that's what I click on. And up to date, it's only done one backup at 4/12/26 at 3:25 p.m. Now, Copia is very good for people who want to take care of versioning. It's a much more sophisticated method of versioning than what you would get with Google or Microsoft. If you have 25 snapshots of your backup, you can go back 25 days or however many days those backups go. You can go to wherever you want. So I'm going to click on the starting time of this backup, and it shows me all of the files that were in that folder. And I have a choice between restoring just one file, restoring all the files, or I can actually mount it as a local file system and pick and choose what I want to restore. So if I just click the first file, it's going to say, where would you like to put it? And I'm going to go back to my F drive. Oops, not there. Go to my F drive and tell it that I want to put the data back in CFCS and hit save. Now, if I go back here, oh, wait a minute, where did you can mount and restore files. What did it do? I clicked on that file. It should already been, yeah, it's already here. Let me refresh this. My browser doesn't refresh. There's the file that came back. So that was just my file browser that doesn't work right. That's how I restore one file. If you want to restore all of the files, you just click on the blue button, and it will ask you where you want the files restored to, and then it has all of these other options here. And I'm going to say that I want to overwrite the files because I know that there's one file that's already been restored. And I'm just going to type in F:\CFCS because that's where I know it is. And I'm going to do that. And now I can go to the restore task. Error. Oh, wow, I got an error. Error creating directory. Non-empty directory already exists. I didn't do that right. Restore files and just restore them into F:\, and say restore. Come on. Oh, begin restore. There it is. Now we go to restore tasks. And again, error creating the directory. Let me do a full backup, and I'll say F:\test tester and begin the restore. And now it's done. It restored 11 megabytes. It restored one directory with 8 files. So if I go here over to CFCS, I should now see a folder that has test in it, tester, and there's all my files. So the other option that you have is to mount the files as a local file system. And when I do that, it created for me a OneDrive. And now I can browse my OneDrive. It'll open up File Explorer, and there are my files. And I can decide which one of these I want to restore. Or if I want to restore some of them or all of them. If this directory had subfolders in it, we could restore only one folder of files. You can do whatever you want. And then when you're done, you just unmount the file system. And you can have policies that are here, and if you need to, you can edit them and change the things that you set before. Tasks are a list of tasks that it did, so you can see whether or not the backup worked. You can see that it's already backed up a bunch of times. The repository is called my repository. That's the default. You can change it to whatever you want. This is the configuration directory where it stores the configuration of this backup. And here's some of the information about it. And that's all there is to know about Copia backups to a local drive. Does anybody have any questions before I continue to cloud drives? No? All right. So we'll disconnect from the local repository. And now I'm going to show you how to do a Backblaze B2 backup. And we're going to click here, and S3 type storage, which B2 is, works in a format called buckets. So you have in the cloud this big amount of space, infinite amount of space, and you create a bucket, almost like a pail that you would take to the beach. And whatever sand you put in your bucket is your sand. So let's say you have 2 people in your family or 4 people in your family. You can create one account for your B2 storage and create a separate bucket for each of the 4 members of your family. And all you need from Backblaze is what they call a key ID and a key. And I'm going to enter that from my password manager. Now, my password manager is up on the screen right now, and you can't see it because it's got an anti screen capture feature to it. So I'm going to grab the application key and copy that, and I'm going to paste it into the key, and then I'm going to get my key ID. Oh, wait a minute. Key ID is this. Copy that and go to here. And now I need the key, which is this. And copy that. And I'll paste it into here. And I'll say next. Oh, and I have to put in the bucket name. Bucket name for me is garden. You could put in your first name, last name. You can each member of your family's name, whatever you want to do, and hit next, and enter the repository password. So now I'll put in the password and hit connect to repository. And I am now attached to my bCloud storage. And I'm back the same place I was when I went to the local storage. I have to create a new snapshot.
In this video, I'll explain
and tell it where I want it, where I want the backup to be, or what I want to back up. It knows the backup's going to Backblaze. I just have to go in and do the same thing for what I want to back up, and it goes to my cloud drive. And I have very little up on my Backblaze drive. I've got over a terabyte of storage, and my monthly bill for all of my data is about $8 a month, and that's pretty close to 2 terabytes worth of data. 2 terabytes would cost you $12. If you only have a couple of hundred gigs, they're going to charge you like $2 a month. You won't even get a bill every month because Backblaze doesn't bill you unless your bill gets to at least $3. They have that because of credit card fees. So you could literally, I know people that do backups that pay just a couple of bucks a month to back up their computer to Backblaze. So that is everything there is to know about the graphical user interface. There are command line things that you can do, which many of you are not going to be interested in. But basically, I just close this and let it run in the background. I'm done with it. You don't have to think about it. It just runs every time you run with Windows. It knows what you've changed, and it backs up only what you've changed. So that is Copia's open source backup software presentation. So are there any questions at the end of the presentation? And again, there's a no. Oh, Stephanie's got her hand up.
Oh, and I have audio on too. Okay. I have a couple of things which have very large files, but constant changes, namely Outlet, Outlook, and Quicken. What happens with those kinds of files? Can they pick that up?
Absolutely. It looks at anything on your computer and it will look at only what's changed since, let's say you do a snapshot every 10 minutes.
Mhm.
If you haven't done anything, it's not going to do anything. If you change just a little bit of a big file, it may back up a chunk of that file and not the whole file because it already has most of the file.
Okay, good. And the other question is, uh, you made a lot of effort to get a copy of a program that you would like to have. They won't keep that on your thing. We managed to get an old version of publishing or something like that.
Uh, well, that's not a Copia question, but yeah, if you purchase Office 2019, I have 2021,
Hmm.
and I've been using it, since 2021. We're in 26. It's the same software. It doesn't change. It doesn't go away.
Oh, okay, okay. But they will. But I mean, it's in the. I have my stuff that's data in drive D, and the things that are in the other things are in C. And so, if you were not doing anything that was related to programs, it wouldn't be picked up unless you allowed them to.
Well, you would, if you have things that you want to back up on your C drive and on your D drive, you would simply go into Copia and choose those folders. You'd go into the interface. Oops, I don't want to do that. I just ruined myself, I think. Go to my repository. There we go. Um, if you go into a new snapshot, and you could say in here, back up everything that's on F
Hmm.
and say select the folder, and then I could say I'll say take it. I can. What can I do? Hit the enter key, or take a snapshot now. It's going to try and take a snapshot of my entire F drive. It's already backed up 500 megabytes, and it will just continue to back up until it's. I can't let this run because the
I guess.
Backblaze account that I'm using here is a demo account. um, so I need to actually kill this if I can. Yep, there it is. I can't back up more than 10 gigabytes to this test account. Detlef.
So just to make sure I understand correctly, number one, it's open source, which means it's free. I've got a number of different hard drives, and I've got my music on one hard drive, and I've got my photos on another hard drive, and I've got my books on another hard drive, and I have one hard drive that I back everything up to. So just to make sure I understand, when I set this up for the snapshots, I do a snapshot of the music drive and a snapshot of the book drive and a snapshot of the other drive, and it'll back all three of those up to
Yes. To
my
the yeah,
backup drive. Okay,
right. So as long as the drive that you choose to put the repository on where the backup is has
right.
enough space, has enough storage space, to accommodate the three or drives that you want to back up.
Right. Yeah, that one is a larger drive than the other one, so that I can take parts of all the other ones and put it on there.
Mhm. Right.
Now, do I need to have that one disconnected so in case I get attacked by ransomware that they can't go in there and encrypt my backup drive?
No, they can't. They can't touch your Copia backup. They could infect
Okay,
your other drives, but not your backup.
but they can't get into the. Okay,
No.
all right. Okay, good. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome. So if there are no other questions, we can open the floor to anybody that has a question. Or otherwise, I will stop sharing and we'll go to our next activities of the afternoon, which for me is a basketball game.